Well, I was born in 1949, so I think the civil rights movement started coming in the 60s, and it was a fascinating time to watch the changes and the kind of the disruption and the fear that developed with the coming of the civil rights movement. I think I was awakened in high school I moved to the north end of Seattle, and they didn't want our family in the neighborhood. We were the first Indians in the neighborhood, and there was a lot of racism against our family for moving into the neighborhood. And I was really shocked that that would be like that. And my dad taking us in to enroll in the high school, the secretary said my dad looked like the Indian on the wooden nickel, and my dad was a bureaucrat with a suit and a tie, and I didn't see him as an Indian on the wooden nickel. It was very hard to know how to deal with that. And then when the neighborhood didn't want us in the neighborhood, that was very hard to deal with. And I remember when I was a senior in high school, we got to speak to Jackson over the phone during our government class, and that was very powerful because I asked him about fishing rights and treaty rights, because my family spent our whole family history talking about Indian rights and Indian issues. I mean, every reservation we lived on, there were different issues. Our family was always abuzz with what was happening in Indian country. And my brother covered Wounded Knee for the American Indian Press Association when it was happening, and that our family was abuzz again because it was a very divisive time in Indian country about how you handle Indian issues. You know, how you get violent, you get vocal, how do you do it? So I was really working out in myself how to handle that kind of thing. And I went to Western on a tribal scholarship. The Umatilla tribe gave me a tribal scholarship, and I majored in Spanish at Western. And we did our Right to be Indian Week in 1969. I was part of the Indian Club, and it was an awakening again of all the issues in Indian country. Vine Deloria was there at the time, and he was awakening another part of me because he knew a lot of the BIA history, because he knew the history we lived at back at the Pine Ridge Reservation. And so that was an awakening about, well, how do you deal with these issues? And then fishing rights came in, and my tribe's a fishing tribe on the waters of the Columbia River, and I'd been there before the dam was built along the Columbia River at Celilo Falls, and you know, I knew that was an important place for my people. I mean, it still is an important place for my people. My grandfather had a place along the river that he was given to our family for thousands of years, and that was our place on the river. It was respected by other family on the reservation, and when you build dams and you cover up those spaces that belong to families, you erased our way we relate to each other. And that was very traumatic. We were going through trauma in our own life watching the loss of the river and fishing, and ironically I went to school on some of the monies that the tribe set aside from losing that right to fish along the river. So many of us Indian people going to college in the 60s were given that right to be educated because of those funds. So it's kind of a mixed blessing. And then I was young. I was 18 when I went to college, and 20 when things started really happening. But I became aware through my family that things should change. And then we lived here in Seattle. The thing happened here at Daybreak Star, you know, like taking over, and it was exciting because something was happening, and Indians were taking charge, and they were having opinions, and they were strong opinions, and they were articulate people. And my friend Randy Lewis came down from Western to participate, and he was Colville, and Bernie Whitebear was Colville, and you felt strong because our people were taking charge, and AIM was getting very active, and so it was a good time. It was a good time to be aware of who you were as a person and as a Native person.